Hello, fam. Before we dive into today's story, let me ask you something. What happens when a man who's built his entire identity on control loses the one thing he can't command? And what if the woman who could help him refuses to be his solution? This is a story about power, vulnerability, and the courage it takes to love when you're terrified of being broken. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you don't want to miss stories like this. Trust me, this one will stay with you. Let's get into it. He built a billion-dollar empire before 30, crushed competitors without mercy, and commanded respect in every room he entered until the night his body stopped working. And the one woman who could have been his salvation looked him straight in the eye and walked away. Park Min-ho sat in his corner office on the 65th floor, surrounded by executives who measured their words carefully around him. Seoul's skyline stretched endlessly below, a kingdom he'd conquered through ruthlessness and brilliance. At 33, he was lean, devastatingly handsome, and wore power like a second skin. His tech company had revolutionized digital payments across Asia, making him one of Korea's youngest self-made billionaires. "The merger closes Friday," he said, his tone cutting through the boardroom chatter. "Any leaks to the press, and you're finished." Not just fired, finished. His directors nodded rapidly. Nobody questioned Park Min-ho. Ever. But that evening, in his penthouse suite with a model whose name he hadn't bothered to remember, something went catastrophically wrong. His body, always dependable, simply shut down. The woman's awkward sympathy made his skin crawl as he dismissed her with barely controlled rage. He stood at the window afterward, jaw clenched so hard it ached. This was impossible. He controlled everything. His company, his competitors, his life. Not this. Never this. Halfway across the world in a Manhattan office, Alma Mensa signed a contract that would triple her consulting firm's revenue. She smiled professionally, exchanged pleasantries, and left the building with quiet satisfaction. At 30, she'd transformed her brand strategy company into something the fashion and tech industries couldn't ignore. Being a dark-skinned Ghanaian woman in these spaces meant proving herself twice as hard, but she'd learned to turn invisibility into power. Her phone buzzed. "Ms. Mensa, another request from Seoul. Someone named Park. He's been calling all week." Alma barely glanced up. "Another tech bro wanting a black woman on his arm for diversity optics. Decline it. He's offering 5 times your normal rate. Then, he definitely can't afford me." She didn't smile. Some things aren't for sale. Have you ever had your body betray you at the exact moment you needed it most? Let me know in the comments. Park Min-ho spent a month chasing answers. Doctors used clinical language.
Performance anxiety, they suggested.
Psychological factors. He tried specialists who prescribed pills that did nothing. Alternative practitioners who spoke about energy blockages. Every failure felt like losing ground in a battle he couldn't win. Then his VP mentioned Alma. Successful, elegant, formidable in her own right. Park convinced himself that marriage to someone of her caliber would restore him. She'd be evidence that he was still the man he'd always been. Still in control. He flew to New York. The restaurant was Michelin-starred, the wine obscenely expensive. Alma arrived wearing a striking blue dress, her hair in intricate twists that framed her face perfectly. She was more captivating than any photo suggested. "Mr. Park," she said, sitting down with careful grace. "Please, Min-ho." He gave her the smile that usually opened doors. "I appreciate you making time. You've been relentless."
"I'm wondering why."
He'd planned this conversation carefully. "I want to marry you." The silence stretched. Alma stared at him, then laughed, genuine surprise coloring the sound. "Excuse me? I can offer you anything. Security, resources, connections."
"Stop."
Her amusement vanished. "We're strangers. I know what matters. You're accomplished, striking, brilliant. You're describing a resume, not a person." She leaned in. "What's actually happening here? Why this urgency?" His expression hardened. "I don't do urgency." "Yes, you do. I can see it." Her gaze was uncomfortably perceptive. "You don't want me. You want me to fix something."
"To prove something."
"I'm not interested in being someone's band-aid, Mr. Park." Figure out what's really broken first. She left him sitting there, his expensive wine untouched, feeling something he hadn't experienced in over a decade. Completely powerless. Park Min-ho returned to Seoul, humiliation burning in his chest. His employees sensed the shift in him, gave him wider berth.
He threw himself into work.
Acquisitions, product launches, destroying competition. Nothing filled the emptiness. At night, her words echoed. You want me to fix something? She'd seen right through him. The truth tasted bitter. He tried everything. Different medications. Injections. A monk who meditated with him for hours. His body remained stubbornly, mortifyingly uncooperative. Each failure chipped away at his identity. Without control, without power over even his own physical self. Who is he? Meanwhile, Alma tried pushing the bizarre encounter from her mind. But something about Park Min-ho's eyes stayed with her. Behind the arrogance, she'd caught a glimpse of something desperate, wounded. Her best friend, Efua, noticed her distraction. You've been somewhere else all week. Nothing important. Just some Korean CEO who proposed marriage after one dinner. Hold on, what? Efua nearly dropped her coffee. Start explaining. Alma described the evening. He was trying to use me as a solution, Efua. I'm exhausted from being treated as exotic or as some kind of prize. You absolutely did the right thing. Efua grabbed her hand. You deserve someone who actually sees you. But that night, Alma dreamed of sharp features and haunted eyes. Park Min-ho, half a world away, lay awake and confronted what he'd been avoiding. He'd spent his life running from fear, and now it had finally caught him. 3 months later, circumstances intervened. Alma's firm secured a partnership with a Korean tech giant. A major contract. The launch gala was in Seoul. She had no choice but to attend. Entering the gleaming venue, she felt the weight of curious stares. Korea's business elite examining the Ghanaian woman, disrupting their world. Then she spotted him. Park Min-ho stood near the bar, looking sharper but somehow more worn. Their eyes locked. He didn't smile or move toward her, just gave a slight nod. Her heart kicked up annoyingly. An hour later, whether by coincidence or design, they ended up seated together at dinner. The other guests were Korean executives with limited English, leaving Alma and Min-ho in uncomfortable proximity. Ms. Mensah. His voice was softer than she remembered. Mr. Park. Silence expanded between them. Then I owe you an apology. She looked at him surprised. Really?
You were completely right.
He studied his untouched food. I was trying to use you as a fix.
I'm sorry.
The sincerity caught her off guard. Why tell me this? Because you're the only person who's been honest with me in years. He finally looked at her. And I've spent 3 months thinking about what you said. Something shifted. The barrier between them thinned slightly. What did you figure out? She asked quietly. That I have no idea who I am without the things I've hidden behind. His vulnerability was startling. And that scares me more than anything. Alma's chest tightened unexpectedly. She understood that fear intimately. Welcome to being human, she murmured. Over the following week, work kept pulling them together. Meetings, presentations, dinners. Park Min-ho was different now. Less armored, more present. Genuinely listening. One evening after a successful pitch, they shared a car back to their hotels. Seoul's lights streamed past the windows. Can I ask something? Alma broke the quiet. Why did you really propose that night? The honest answer. Min-ho stayed silent, so long she thought he'd refuse to respond. I was 8 when I watched my father have a breakdown, he eventually said. His company collapsed overnight. Bad deals, worse partners. He never recovered. His voice was carefully neutral. I watched him become nothing, because he lost control. I promised myself I'd never be weak like that. Never need anyone. Never show vulnerability. Alma's breath caught. I built everything on absolute control. My company, my image, my body, every single aspect of my life. He laughed without humor. Then one night, my body stopped cooperating. And I realized everything I'd built my identity on could disappear instantly. So you tried to control that situation by proposing to me?
Exactly.
Idiotic, I know. What would you do if your entire identity vanished overnight? Tell us in the comments. Alma sat with that for a moment. Then, I was 16 the first time someone called me exotic, like I was some rare creature instead of a person. I've spent my entire adult life being fetishized, underestimated, or reduced to being the black woman in the room. Minho turned to her fully. When you proposed, she continued, all I heard was another man who saw what I could provide for him, not who I actually was. I'm tired of being simultaneously invisible and hypervisible. I see you now, he said softly. Their gazes held. Something unspoken moved between them. Maybe that's exactly the problem, Alma whispered. They started spending time together, not deliberately, but soul kept bringing them into the same spaces. A late work session became sharing street food at a pojangmaka. A formal event became genuine laughter over soju and terrible nori bang performances. Minho showed her hidden corners of Seoul, gardens where he'd escaped as a teenager, overlooks where the city revealed itself. Alma taught him to appreciate beauty without trying to own it. One night, sitting by the Han River, she asked, do you still think marriage would have fixed you? No, he smiled. A genuine one this time. I'm realizing I was never actually broken. Just terrified. Of what? Being alone, being perceived as weak, not being sufficient. He turned to her. You make me want to be enough for the right reasons. Alma's pulse quickened. Minho. I'm not proposing, he said quickly. Just being honest about how I feel. No pressure, no expectations. She reached for his hand. His fingers interlaced with hers, warm, slightly unsteady. This is terrifying, she admitted. I know. They sat in comfortable silence, the city glowing around them. For the first time in months, Minho felt something awakening in him. Not physical desire alone, but something profound. Hope. Alma felt it too. The walls she'd carefully constructed were developing cracks. Maybe vulnerability wasn't weakness. Maybe it was the bravest choice either of them had made. Stay in Seoul longer, he whispered. Okay, she whispered back. For weeks later, everything shattered. They'd grown close. Long dinners, conversations that stretched into dawn. Kisses that felt like discovering home. Minho was healing gradually. Therapy was helping. Honesty helped more. Then came the night Alma stayed at his penthouse. The kissing was tender, intense. They moved to his bedroom, shedding barriers and clothing. Minho felt desire rising, real and powerful, rooted in genuine connection. But when the crucial moment arrived, his body failed him again. The familiar panic seized him completely. Alma's gentle reassurance felt like pity. His shame twisted into fury. Don't, he snapped, pulling back. Minho, it's fine. It's not fine. He stood, grabbing his clothes. I'm still broken, still inadequate.
Stop that.
You're not. You should go. His voice turned glacial. The CEO returning. This was a mistake. Alma felt like she'd been struck. What? You were right, initially. I can't give you what you deserve.
Leave.
So you're pushing me away because you're scared. Her voice shook with pain and anger. I'm ending this before it becomes worse. You coward. Tears stung her eyes. I open myself to you. I let you in. And the moment things get difficult, you run. Get out. His voice echoed harshly. Alma gathered her things with shaking hands.
At the door, she paused.
You know what your actual problem is, Minho? It's not your body. It's that you're too terrified to let yourself be loved. She left. The door closing sounded like something breaking. Minho sank to the floor alone, drowning in shame. For 3 weeks, Minho existed in fog. His company functioned without him. He moved through meetings like a ghost. His therapist finally broke through the numbness. What are you genuinely afraid of? That I'm insufficient, Minho whispered. That even if she loves me, I'll disappoint her. That I'm less than I should be. Who decided what you should be? Minho thought of his father's collapse, his mother's harsh lessons about strength, the business world that equated masculinity with dominance and control. People who were wrong, he realized. So decide for yourself. Minho went home and wrote. Pages and pages of truth, apologies, fears, hope. Meanwhile, Alma was back in New York, burying herself in work. Efua watched her friend quietly unravel. Call him, Efua urged. He made his decision. Did he? Or did a terrified man make a terrible mistake? Alma wanted to stay angry, but mostly she missed him. His quiet laughter, his gradual opening, the way he saw her completely. When the letter arrived, handwritten, ink-smudged, vulnerable, she cried, reading every word. I don't know if my body will function the way it used to. I don't know if I'll ever stop being afraid. But I know that loving you is the first genuine thing I've felt in my entire life. I don't deserve another chance, but I'm asking anyway. Not because I'm fixed, but because I'm finally willing to be broken with you, if you'll let me. Alma booked a flight immediately. Minho stood in his penthouse staring at Seoul's lights. He'd sent the letter 4 days ago. No response. The knock on his door stopped his heart. Alma stood there in travel clothes, eyes red-rimmed but determined. Hi, she whispered. You came. His voice cracked. You wrote. She stepped inside. That letter, Minho, that was the most honest thing anyone's ever given me. I meant everything. They stood facing each other, the space between them charged with hope and fear. I'm terrified, Alma admitted, of being hurt, of not being enough for you, of everything. Me too. But I'm tired of fear making my decisions. She moved closer. So here's what I know. I don't need you to be perfect. I need you to be real. I need you to stop running when things get hard.
Can you do that? Yes.
His eyes glistened. I promise. Then we'll figure out everything else together. She cupped his face. Bodies heal. Hearts heal. We heal together. When they kissed, it was different. Slower, deeper. Built on truth rather than desperation. They moved to his bedroom. And this time, there was no pressure, no expectation. Just two people choosing vulnerability over fear. And when Minho's body responded naturally, beautifully, because it was rooted in love instead of terror, they both cried. Afterward, wrapped together, Alma whispered, ask me again. Minho knew exactly what she meant. Alma Mensa, will you marry me? Not because I need fixing, not because I need proof, but because I love you and I want to spend my life earning your trust every single day. Yes, she breathed.
Yes.
Outside, Seoul glowed. Inside, two wounded people chose to become whole together. Do you believe love can heal our deepest wounds? Share your story in the comments below.